on.
Welcome to Captive Audience. It's Tuesday, August 15th. How are you all doing?
Hot. We're all doing hot.
We are. How hot is it at your house?
It is 100 and I think it got to 106 today, or 107. So it's a lot cooler than it was yesterday. Yesterday it was 112.
Ooh, well, we're 101 right now. And I don't know what it got to yesterday, but this morning I went, whoa, 80 degrees. It's going to be a hot one. It's going to be, when it's 7 o'clock in the morning and it's 80 degrees, it's going to be a hot day.
Yeah. It was 70 degrees about 7 o'clock this morning here with thunderstorms. So yesterday we had a red flag warning in Southern Oregon because obviously of the low humidity, and then there was winds that kicked up in the afternoon. And to top that all off, as we're coming back from the Josephine County Republican Women's dinner before their luncheon, which I guess was today, and I guess I missed. There was lightning, and I expected to wake up in the next morning and see notifications from ODF that there was fires everywhere, but there wasn't. So thank God for that.
Well, I was reading right before we came on the air of a fire that's just about 5 miles south of Bend, a new fire, and I'm glad you got some moisture. That helps.
Little.
It helps a little, but we don't have any fires like Maui.
No, that was a horrible fire. And of course, we saw the same thing in 2020 when we had those winds. That was, the primary driver of that was, of course, climate change, if you believe the narrative. But, I don't know if everybody's noticed, but man, at least in the Western Hemisphere, climate change comes on really hard every August. Every August,
gosh, right?
Climate changing to hell, in the Western United States. And we're experiencing it right now, obviously. But, the primary driver of that disaster was winds. And that's what we saw in 2020 was the winds that created the absolute catastrophe that we had in Oregon. Of course, the death toll was not as high, and probably structure loss was not as high as it was in Lahaina. But man, they need to figure out who started that, because the whole time I was watching that, I was somewhere and somebody sent it to me. I forget what I was doing something, but the whole time I was looking at that when I was starting is they kept showing views from the ocean towards Lahaina.
Yeah.
And the wind, and you can see all the smoke going that way. It's like, well, where the hell did the fire start? On the beach?
Right, exactly. And I saw a video, I don't know how the fire started, although there's now a class action lawsuit started against the utility, because even though with this high wind warning that they had, they didn't cut the power out. And there was, I saw a video that was a power line. You could see it. It was a live line that was down on the ground, starting the fire in the early morning. And it was right on the beach, actually. But
really?
What helped too, I've got friends that live in Lahaina, and what helped.
Did they make it out okay?
Well, they've lost one residence, and their other residence, which is higher up the mountain, is that they're fine. They've got within 1/8 of a mile of that place, of their other home. But the marina, the gas tanks, the fuel tanks in the marinas exploded, spewing gasoline everywhere, which is what helped level everything right at the marina there and burn the boats pretty much all to the ground. Those that didn't get out of the harbor. And, I've read maybe DEW. I don't know anything about that, but I've read that, Lori. And I don't know, what caused it, but it's, I just feel for all of those people. One fellow had said, my roommate, the three of us live in a house, and where we worked is gone. Our house is okay, but where we worked is gone. And so you can just amplify that by everybody that worked around there. And I listened to an interview. Oh, dang, his name is escaping me. A real famous artist, marine life type artist. And he said he got out of there on his motorcycle. The people that were in cars were backed up, waiting for somebody to make a move. He says, I got out of there for, weaving in and out of all the vehicles. And he says, I feel lucky to get out there with my life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's sad. But you know what else is sad about this is here we have Biden has said, we're going to help the people of Lahaina. We're going to give every family $700. Not every person, every family, $700. It equates to about less than $2 million, $1.9 million. And yet we're giving how many billions to Ukraine? We're giving how much to, he plans to cancel 39 billion in student loan debt. This is just a slap in the face to Americans and to the people of Lahaina that have lost everything, their job, their home, their life. And I understand from something I read yesterday or heard about yesterday, I was listening in my car as I was driving, that because of the high wind warnings, they had canceled school. So kids were home and entire neighborhoods of children perished.
Hmm.
One person said, all my friends are dead.
Wow.
And imagine the trauma of children. It's one thing as an adult to deal with this, but as trauma of children, and you might end up with survivor guilt when all of your friends have perished. And it was two neighborhoods, as I recall, that were absolutely wiped out, and the children perished.
Wow. Did I hear that the tsunami warning system was not functional either that day?
That's correct. It was not functional.
Huh.
So I don't know. It's a real sad day for Lahaina, and it's that's such it's the oldest town in Hawaii. It's a historic town.
It's
a
royal capital city.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the few places in Hawaii that I've been, actually. I've been to Honolulu and I've been to Lahaina and Kihei.
Yes. Well, we spent 2.5 years there in the Hawaiian Islands and didn't make it to all of the islands, but got around a lot, and actually was going to buy a house there in Lahaina. And the house that we would have bought is gone.
Wow.
Yeah. And that neighborhood is gone. And it was just one house off the beach. I thought, oh yeah, that'd be nice carrying my surfboard, to just go out, right? But I'll tell you, I love Hawaii very much. It's a nice place to visit, but I chose not to live there.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it there too. I could live there, I think, pretty easily. It's like I can live anywhere where houseplants grow outside.
Right, and of epic proportions too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I used to be quite
a little too Democrat for me, quite frankly.
Well, it's a way Democrat state.
Yeah, it is.
Democratic to the core,
Yeah,
and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. But it's a beautiful, and I just feel for all the people that have lost everything, and yet our awful president isn't willing to truly help them. In fact, something that my husband said, we have been in other countries like, say, Tonga, when the tsunami happened and village wiped out and what have you, in the Hawaii group. And here came the Navy, because they don't have any fresh water. All their fresh water was contaminated. And I want to say a New Zealand Navy ship came and was making water for them, immediately. Well, they're in the same place in Lahaina. The water is polluted. So
Right.
why don't we have our own military? We've got a Pearl Harbor base right there, and one of our ships go out there and just start making water. We've
Yeah.
got ships that can cook. We've got ships that can, medical ships. Why isn't our own military taking care of that? Because it's far easier to do right from the ocean there.
Well, that's a great question. Someone should ask the President of the United States that, since he is the Commander in Chief of the U.S. military. He could make that happen with just a wave of the hand. We certainly saw
Very,
it during COVID, didn't we? We saw the hospital ship outside of New York or wherever it was
yes,
there.
that was New York, in New York Harbor.
Yeah, and
Yes.
we saw the
Oh
National Guard
yeah,
or the
I
military
forgot
or
about that.
something set up a hospital at the Oregon State Fairgrounds. You remember that? I mean, it was an all. They seemed to be prepared for that for somehow. Uh,
Somehow,
Maybe they weren't prepared for the Lahaina fire. I don't know, but yeah, it's a good question. It's it's a tragic situation. Uh,
yes, it
oh,
is. Yes, it is. And the death toll, I guess, right now is about 96, and they're expecting that to double. And quite frankly, I've heard 1,000 people are missing. So that's what
wow.
I expect it to be.
Yeah.
When you have cars all lined up, a lot of people were succumbed by smoke, and which is why they were going out into the ocean to get away. And they had requested people on boats to pick them up, people that did have boats out there to pick them up out of the ocean.
Yeah.
So it's sad,
But that
sad,
was that was the direction of the fire, where the fire originated. Right, it was by the ocean.
I truly don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. It by appearances.
There seems to be a serious lack of in this world in which we live, in which someone's got a cell phone video of everything there, and there's lots of surveillance in stores and hotels and what have you, and restaurants. Seems to be a serious lack of video evidence of what happened there. All right, I mean, you would think we would have seen that by now.
Well, it could be being suppressed, like we've seen so much other things suppressed.
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
It's definitely
I guess I won't vote for Joe Biden then, will I?
no, and frankly, I would not think that you would anyway, at all. Neither of us.
I've never voted for a Democrat ever.
No, no, me either.
I didn't even vote for Betsy Johnson, like the former chair of the Oregon Republican Party and Josephine County Commissioner Herman Bartschegger did.
No, I didn't either. Quite frankly, that was the vote splitter. That was the vote splitter that could very well have cost us having a Republican governor.
Yeah.
100%. And I'm sure it's all by design. I swear, it's amazing what happens in Oregon politics.
Well, I think it was a pretty good plan. You had a lame duck, and a governor who couldn't run again. So there's no power of incumbency, and you need to overcome a plus 10, 300,000 vote registration disadvantage. And it seemed like that was a very good plan. I mean, I thought it was a very good plan. What I didn't understand was either prominent and or used to be prominent Republicans coming out and endorsing the other Democrat in the race. I don't quite get that. That doesn't make sense to me. I can see supporting the plan. I could even see giving her money, to support the plan and try to rake D votes away from Kotek. But it seems like she was focusing on grabbing Republican votes.
Definitely. Yeah, she was over here in my neck of the woods and attending fundraisers and flipping ours into her side. And I just couldn't believe it. Now, and I just going, oh no, she's not going after the D vote. She's going after the R votes. This is the plan. So,
Yeah.
so what is she doing these days? Is she on a committee? Is she,
No, she's
I
not.
don't know.
I don't know that she's doing anything. I know that our friend Angela has interviewed her on her PDX Reel Instagram page. If you've ever seen that, it's huge following. Grew to 50 or 60,000 followers overnight.
Wow.
She's got all kinds of press and all kinds. She's done Fox News and other national news shows and stuff. And so, she's really built it into something. I know she did have a conversation with Betsy. I didn't watch it because I just don't watch Democrats. I don't watch Robert F. Kennedy. You hear a lot of, Robert Kennedy. Well, yeah, he's a Kennedy, number one, and a Democrat. So why do I care what he has to say? I tell you what, you get something out of any politician that strikes a chord with a conservative-leaning non-Republican or a Republican, and they just go running like lemmings, like, oh, he's our savior. Well, he's not. He's a Kennedy and he's a Democrat. So get all that crap out of who cares what he has to say? He's lying to you. He's on the campaign trail. That means he's lying to you.
Well, he is
He'll say whatever it takes.
He is certainly bringing things to light that a lot of people have never heard about. Talking about things that a lot of people have never heard about. So, David, what is your take on this indictment that happened last night of Trump in Georgia?
Well, I would say, it wasn't just Trump. It was a RICO indictment. I think there was 18 other people.
There is.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely the Biden administration or the Biden DOJ stepping things up a couple of notches for sure. I believe it's politically motivated, and it's probably very little basis in there. But I'm starting to wonder how effective it will be, again, with people who are not extremely well informed or don't have great faculties of reason and logic. How it's going to play for voter sentiment. So, unfortunately, it's probably going to have a serious impact.
Well, it could very well. I do believe that it is getting more people behind him and seeing the injustice of all the lawfare. This is Democrat lawfare. And, and they're actually charging him with interfering with the 2020 presidential election. Well, if you are president of the United States and the election happens, it is your job to see if things are true, see that it's correct and see that it's right. So some of the charges, in fact, one of the indictments, I don't remember who it's against now, said he was indicted. It was a fellow, if I remember right. He was indicted because he made reservations for a meeting room. That was part of the collusion. And I think they're grasping at straws. And some of this that I've read a little bit, Trump's attorney, his Drew Finling, said, and Jennifer Little and Marissa Goldberg released a statement today blasting the indictment and saying that the events are, quite frankly, have been shocking and absurd. And starting, they leaked the presume and premature indictment before there was the before the before they had even met, right? The grand jury had even gotten together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Huh. So they leaked that, and then the DA's office took it down and said, no, that is false. That was false. And then when they finally the grand jury convenes and meets and comes up, it's exactly the indictment they post is exactly what they prematurely posted. Oh yeah. This is it's really, it's so sad. It's such a sad day for America as to watch the destruction, I believe, of our judicial system and the politicization of it. Um,
Well, it's more than just the judicial system. It's our entire system of government. When you, I mean, you know, arresting your political opponents is that's just not in the American playbook.
no, it's election interference, pure and
Yeah,
simple.
yeah.
And Mark Levin had said Stalin would be proud, and I'm sure Putin's proud.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But he
Mao.
questioned the validity of the charges.
Yeah, Mao, Ho Chi Minh, Pol Pot, Castro, they all had their political opponents arrested so they could have good, fair elections because their opponents were corrupt and they needed to be arrested.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's.
And I think part of what this state, the charges in Georgia, are actually things that could only be brought into federal, because the presidential election is a federal election. You know, it's not a state. The presidential election is a federal election. It is not a state election, and so the state shouldn't have jurisdiction over that.
No, the Constitution provides that the states will conduct elections.
Yes, but the states will conduct elections, but they have to comply with the federal law. And so, according to what part of what Levin said, is that they're violating the Constitution's supremacy clause. And that clause is Congress is supposed to make all the final decisions. You're not supposed to criminalize the challenging of electors or dual collectors or counting of votes and that sort of thing. And so he says he doesn't think that they even have jurisdiction in this. Could possibly be.
Who doesn't have jurisdiction?
That the state doesn't.
State as in the
Georgia. I'll post that article here. It's in Breitbart.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of people try to, try to assert some sort of federal supremacy idea because they don't like the way things are going, and I don't subscribe to it. So I don't go for the military tribunal method or anything like that. Not that Levin would, go that way, but it just, I don't know, it sounds a little bit, I mean, it's pretty clear that the states, conduct elections. They deliver electors, as far as the president is concerned, to the Electoral College. And then a joint session of Congress certifies that counting of the electoral votes, and that's how we select a president.
Well, something else that Levin says is that these are all Democrat cities going through the motions. The Democrat president, the Democrat attorney general, who's been doing a number of outrageous things. And this is a grave attack on our judicial system, our system of justice, and our election system. This is an attack on the Republican Party. Don't you dare challenge elections. Don't you dare send in other electors. Don't you dare question machines. Don't you dare to do a damn thing, because nobody knows what the rules are in these Democrat cities or these states anymore. It's horrendous. And so it's interesting, this article here. There's
he's a pretty smart guy, and he is a lawyer.
He is, and Constitution is his.
I'm not smart, and I'm not a lawyer. I just have my own maybe faulty opinion, but I think it's always a problem when we start asserting federal supremacy over the actions of states, because and this is the way I always frame this one. What if it were the other way around?
Okay, so let me just read you this portion here. The Supremacy Clause established the Constitution and federal law takes precedent over state laws and even state constitutions, and they're not going to allow DAs or local district attorneys to interfere with the functioning of federal elections, any federal presidency. It's never been tried. But I seriously doubt they're going to let a DA do what the Attorney General of the United States is prohibited from doing. So
Yeah.
let's put that on the table in Georgia and New York, number one. Number
Yeah.
two, he says, I think it was Greg who brought this up. The nature of the statutes that they're using are so outlandish and so outrageous, and the way that they're looking for anything to twist any law, to twist any event, to try and take down Trump, rather than leave it to the voters. And the fact that they want these trials immediately during the Republican primary before the election should make it abundantly clear that everybody clear to everybody what's going on here.
Well, yeah, I guess, it's a consequence of meddling with the Constitution, because originally, how was the president elected originally in America?
By a vote. Well, the very first election
of
our representatives.
Up until for some time, elections, presidents were elected by Congress.
I guess I don't know that. I guess
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
We did not have a popular vote for president. And so we changed that with the 17th Amendment. We changed the representation of the states. The states no longer have representation as entities, no longer have representation in Washington, D.C. So, I think it's a consequence of meddling with what was originally very good ideas. I mean, the way that presidents were originally elected was there were electors. I'm trying to remember this correctly. There were electors that came from the various states. There was no popular vote. That's what I'm saying. There was never a popular vote for president. So electors, I think, were elected at a very community level, and they were the ones. Yeah, that's how it works. They were the ones that selected the president, and then it was I think it was the Senate that selected the vice president, if I remember correctly, something like that. Somebody look that up and tell me if that's right.
There we go.
But because direct democracy is a kingpin of Marxism, and it's been championed in the United States for over 100 years. We are moving more and more and more to a democracy. Our Constitution has been changed more to a democracy in the last 150 years, with the 17th Amendment that eliminated the state legislatures picking their senators and sending their senators to represent the state, and the representatives in the House of Representatives being the only democratically elected or popular vote elected people in Washington. We had a great separation of powers. We had over here, we had people. Now, the House of Representatives elected directly by the people, only there for 2 years. So they couldn't consolidate power, only there for 2 years. And then over here, we had the Senate, which were elected by state legislatures to represent the state. And then we had a president that was elected by electors from various small jurisdictions throughout the country, and then a vice president appointed by the Senate. So there was very little popular vote or very little democratic interference in the process. And as we all know, this direct democracy, or this whole democracy thing, and I hate the word democracy. I just absolutely hate it. Is subject to the 50+1 vote, right? If you got 100 votes, you get 51, you win.
Yeah.
And so, it's not people that have been elected because they're responsible and trusted and reasonable in logic, picking other people to go represent the state or represent us, in Washington, D.C. It's now just people who don't think about anything. They believe every BS line they're told by a politician. And they vote willy nilly. They vote their pocketbook. Oh, he's going to cancel my student loan. I'm gonna vote for him. I won't have to pay my mortgage anymore. They're going to raise Social Security so I can have more money out of the damn. That's the single biggest line item budget in the United States. It's effing Social Security. Anyways, don't get.
Right. That's not
soapbox here. So now we have this direct democracy thing, and then we have all of these problems with elections, which we never had before because we didn't have the popular election system.
So I'll tell you, we just finished our fair here in Umatilla County, and we did a straw poll. Well, somebody said it should be called a bead poll. We use kidney beads as the voting tool. Yes, and nice. There are 14 that have said they've announced they're running for president. So we had 14 jars there. And Trump came out number one with 1,108 votes. Now, we let everybody vote, all the kids, everybody. And I'll tell you what, the children vote for Trump. It was so nice to see. But to your point of people voting, I watched people go, oh, this one doesn't have a vote. I'll vote for them. And I remember saying to a few people, well, you just threw your vote away. So next time you get your ballot, think about this. Then another one, a gal says, oh, I've never heard of any of these people. And I said, really? She says, yes. And how old are you? 22. And she says, well, I like this one's name, and put a vote in. So,
I remember a young guy saying that he voted for Obama because he liked the way he talked.
And you know what? There's lots of reasons why people are decide to vote, and it was very telling. The conversations that we had for Wednesday through Saturday on our poll. And let's see, the second person who came in, it was Ron DeSantis, and third was, I want to say, Nikki Haley. I don't have it in front of me, but I think that was the top three. And there should be a test to vote. No kidding. There
should definitely be a test to vote. Can you imagine what that would go over in today's society? Oh, you racist, bigot, oppressor, white supremacist.
It used to be landowners were the only people that voted.
And it wouldn't bother me if we went back to that, because
we would have a lot less taxes if that happened.
We'd have a lot less taxes, Sonny.
I guarantee you we would have a lot less taxes. And if you can own a piece of property and not lose it because you've done some creative financing somewhere, then I think you may have earned the right to vote.
Yeah, Pat said it. I mean, there are so many people that aren't qualified to vote, and they shouldn't. I've said it time and time again, but all you need to do is go knock. You don't even have to get past 100 doors. Once you get to 100 doors, you will realize that nobody knows anything about what's going on civically. They don't know when the election.
That's the sad part.
Who represents them? They don't know they don't know anything. It's absolutely amazing.
They don't. In our last election here on county commissioners, the gal who won, one of our candidates actually, who won the primary, was still out knocking doors for the general election and whatnot. And because it's the top two vote getters in our county when they have multiple candidates for the same position for county commissioner. And someone, I remember somebody said, well, didn't you already win? People don't pay attention to what's going on in politics. And that is what's wrong with our country.
It is. Yeah.
And this is the number one job of the Republican Party, is to educate the voter. Get more voters and educate the voter, because I feel that if we can help educate the voters on the issues, on the ballot measures and about candidates, that will encourage them to vote and turn that ballot in. Because how many people vote one thing and turn the ballot in, or don't vote at all because they just don't know anything and they don't want to make a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we know 15 to 20% of the people don't vote in a general election. Just don't vote at all. They're registered to vote. They get a ballot. They don't fill it out. But most people have no idea. I mean, and politician campaign staff know that. They know that the only thing that wins elections is name, recognition, and money. So how often can you get the name in front of how many people? That's the money equation. And people, they look down the ballot and they go, "Oh yeah, I saw that name."
Right, exactly. Oh, that one sounds good.
Ah.
Yeah, it was quite enlightening, and it was good for our PCPs and our volunteers in our booth to experience this and see this, because it was telling for all of us that were in there for the 4 days and dealing with that, and also talking to people about the petitions and whatnot. But yeah, that straw poll was quite telling.
Wow.
Hey, well, listen, on of a little bit of Oregon news. We don't have much, but we have a little bit. Two things. The new comes from coin.com. New ranking puts Oregon in the bottom 15 of the best states to live in. Not very good. Not number 38 out of 50.
Oh, really?
Yeah, number 38
based on what criteria?
Well, it was out of Wallet Hub. I don't know.
If you're a drug addict, it's a great place to live.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. It scored well on a few factors. It ranked 13. This is kind of funny, actually. It ranked 13 for quality of life and 15 for economy. Was in the middle for education, which I can't believe, and education and health, and in the bottom 10 for affordability and safety. Now, wait a minute. If affordability and safety are in the bottom 10, then how does it qualify for number 13 for quality of life? Because those two things directly affect your quality of life.
Yeah.
And the economy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense.
Probably some dumbass clickbait article.
And then we have another one of the Oregon Secretary of State. This is from Oregon Capitol Chronicle. The Oregon Secretary of State, we have an interim Secretary of State, essentially.
Do we?
Pardon?
Oh, yeah, I guess. Do they remain interim until the next election?
Well, it's a person who's not going to run. So our Secretary of State is LaVon Griffin Valade, or Valade. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce her last name.
I remember that with what's her name after Dennis died.
Yeah. So she, that's why I call her interim. She is our Secretary of State, but she's not going to run. They have launched a database with campaign finance violations. So it plans to publish monthly databases with information about campaign finance scuffles.
Really?
Yes.
Michael Cross in there?
Well, I'll tell you. So Monday, apparently the new database and other website updates are part of the office's initiative CLEAR, which is not an acronym. A new web page at oregonvotes.gov/transparency that also includes links to training opportunities for candidates. And boy, do I recommend they take this training or learn more about reporting and campaign staff and whatnot. So the only two that I saw listed in here, so the campaign finance violation database has 28 entries, all related to PACs that miss deadlines for filing campaign finance transactions. In most cases, campaigns have 30 days after transaction to report it to the state, although those deadlines shrink to 7 days close to an election. Right. The largest fine of the batch, $3,885, was assessed by the Oregon Moms Union. Now, the Oregon Capitol Chronicle, I'm going to guess leans to the left because they say, this writer says, a right-wing political action committee run by Mackenzie Pulliam.
Kenzie, that's her name, yeah.
And wife of the mayor of Sandy and 2022 Republican candidate for governor, Stan Pulliam. Oregon Moms Union hasn't yet paid its fine for filing transactions late. And then the second one is Oregon Right to Life, an anti-abortion group, paid the second largest fine of $1,350. And every violation so far occurred in January of 2023 and had a final order issued in late June. So they're only highlighting these two, the highest, this top two. It made me wonder, are they picking on conservatives?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I would. There's a war on Republicans in Oregon, in Salem. Measure 113 pretty much eradicated what has the potential to eradicate all of the opposition party, the Republican Party, the minority party in the legislature. Because they'll no longer, be able to run. So, yeah, are they targeting the opposition? They are. I'm sure they are.
I'm sure they are.
Now, Capital Chronicle is a way left publication, by the way.
Oh, so see, I'm not even familiar with them. How naive I am there. You would know, but not me. Well, listen, you are a music guy, David. I know you are a man of music. And have you heard the song by Oliver Anthony, Richmond, North of Richmond?
I've heard part of it. I didn't get through the whole video.
Well, I just put the link there, and I will tell you our very own Jeff Reynolds has written an article about it. And apparently it came to life and took flight on YouTube. It was posted on August 8th, and by late Friday, it already had 3.1 million views.
Ooh, that's a winner.
On iTunes, and some young guy nobody ever heard of sang a song in the woods in front of his deer stand with his dogs lying at his feet, and it immediately captured the soul of America.
Yeah.
And it has. I listened to it, and I went, oh, yeah, I like this.
Redheads will do that.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And boy, what a red beard he's got. I'll tell you.
Because we have no soul, we have special powers.
Oh, you think? So I'll tell you, I do pray for his overnight success, that he is able to handle it, because it's just it's going to be something that I'm sure he was not prepared for.
Yeah, it's I haven't heard the whole song, so I'm going to have to give it a listen. I'll probably have to go listen to it on YouTube, get his view count up, because that's how you monetize it. And at 3.5 million views, he's already monetizable, so he should be seeing a little bit of money. And that's the key to having a musical career, is people paying money to listen to your music.
Well, definitely, to have a surviving musical career.
Yeah. I once told a friend of mine who is an artist, I said, if you don't sell your art, you're not an artist. You're just a hobbyist.
Good point. Very good point.
She took that to heart and made a lifetime career out of selling art.
All right. Well, that's what I've got. There's some good news at the end of today. And Don Anderson, I will be in tomorrow. And thanks for letting me join you today, David.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm glad to be back. I think it was Bobby had messaged me and said that she missed. I guess Don and I were supposed to be on Friday. And I neglected to I went up north to my house up there, and I neglected to take my laptop, and I couldn't get the damn thing to work on my phone, because I had to host, and then we tried to get Kevin to host off of his phone, but he kept dropping out, and so I kept reloading, and I got one thing fixed, and I got another thing fixed, and then the last time I reloaded, I couldn't hear Don. It's like, that was 6:30, and it's like, okay, well, we're just not going to get this fixed. Sorry, everybody. We
Hey,
tried.
stuff happens. This is what happens when you do things live, and we are people that are still working, involved in other things, and
And
hey.
really, all of those. I mean, I think most everybody that watches is pretty close to our age. Our people our age, this is an absolute miraculous thing that we're doing anyhow. If you think about it, we're
Right.
Sonny and I are 400 miles apart, and we're on here at the same time, and you get to just drop in and interact and listen, and who would have thought about that in the 60s or the 70s?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
One of
Definitely.
one of these things,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All
Thanks,
right,
everybody.
everybody. Share the message. Share us around. We want to. I know we know that Facebook absolutely trumps all over us, but
Yeah.
yeah, share it around anyway.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.